Few might remember a former basketball player from the 1970s by the name of Spencer Haywood. While relatively unknown today, Haywood was one of the best athletes and basketball players of his era and the only player in NBA history to win Rookie of the Year and the league's MVP in the same season, leading the league in scoring and rebounding at the age of just 20. Haywood would go on to be a multiple-time All-Star and an All-NBA player and would eventually be inducted into the Hall of Fame. But what most people don't know was that Spencer Haywood had the unique opportunity to sign an endorsement deal that would have made him one of the richest athletes of all time. Haywood was offered the first ever shoe deal by a small, somewhat unknown company at the time called Nike. In the early 70s, Nike was trying to make a name for itself in its infancy as a company and decided to venture into the field of athlete endorsement deals to help sell the brand. Unlike its major shoe competitors, though, Nike didn't have the kind of capital to throw out rich contracts to try and sway professional athletes to sign with them. So Nike presented Haywood with a choice: sign a deal with them for $100K or for a 10% equity stake in the company. While Haywood and his agent ultimately chose the 10% equity, they did so mainly for tax purposes and quickly sold his 10% stake for $100,000. A lot of money at the time, but Haywood and his agent were happy with the result as there was uncertainty for just how successful Nike would be as a brand with a level of competition in the space. Well, unfortunately for Spencer Haywood, his 10% stake, had he held on to it, would now be valued over $3 billion, which to this day would make him the wealthiest athlete in the world. Yes, even more so than Michael Jordan himself. Now, while most will assume Michael Jordan and his wealth, which exceeds over $2 billion in net worth, is in large part due to him being the greatest basketball player to ever play the game and arguably the biggest icon in the history of sports, it's actually much simpler than that. Michael Jordan, unlike Spencer Haywood, didn't skip out on an opportunity to be sponsored by Nike, and his overall earnings, net worth, and wealth have since primarily come from his partnership with that brand. A never-ending cash cow that will likely fund generations of wealth for the Jordan family even well after MJ has passed on. But while all of that is good and well to do in Jordan making Nike the brand it is today and forever changing the landscape of the sneaker industry, one decision could have changed it all when Michael Jordan first joined the league in 1984, one in which could have ended up being a huge loss to Michael. Let's talk about it. As always, if you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, it would mean a great deal to me if you subscribe to help the channel grow. We actually just surpassed 35,000 subscribers, and I cannot thank you all enough for the love and support since starting this channel over a year ago. Let's see if we can get it to 50K by the end of the year. Now, when Michael Jordan entered the league after being drafted by the Chicago Bulls with the 3rd selection in 1984, most knew Jordan to be a freak athlete with an elite ability to put the ball in the hoop. There was no question that Michael would succeed in the NBA and be one of the league's top scorers. But in an era that was centered and focused around big men, centers who dominated the paint and the reason for why teams won championships, not much was thought of Michael Jordan from some of the biggest shoe companies out there. Converse, which was the most popular shoe brand at that time, already had Larry Bird, Magic Johnson locked into deals to promote their brand and were not interested in taking on another rookie athlete who had yet to play in the NBA. What most people don't know was that Michael Jordan actually wanted to sign with Adidas, but shockingly, the brand turned him down, citing that he was too short for the image that they were trying to convey. Now, while we know Adidas, and they still remain a large, very relevant, profitable brand today, who knows what the shoe juggernaut would have been able to do and become had they also signed Michael Jordan at the early stages of his career. An already established, large brand with global appeal. And you add Michael Jordan as a rookie? Forget about it. In that scenario, Nike likely doesn't last and goes into obscurity as a company. And when Nike first approached Michael offering him the deal of a lifetime, MJ was hesitant. Did he want to be associated with a brand that was mainly known for their running shoes? And would it set him up for success for future endorsement deals? Nike offered Michael Jordan a 5-year, $2.5 million contract in 1984 as a rookie, the biggest shoe deal in history at that time. They offered so much money that it was too good to pass up, even though Michael Jordan's agent had to convince Michael and his mom to take this deal and that it would be worth it. Not only was it worth it in terms of the earnings it would provide Jordan for himself for decades to come, but it was arguably the single greatest investment in Nike's history. $2.5 million that would ultimately return billions upon billions of dollars in revenue that continue to be raked in today. Now, obviously, once Jordan signed with Nike, They would come out with his signature shoe, the Air Jordans, that still remain an iconic and staple shoe for basketball players around the world today. But what really propelled Michael Jordan to billionaire status was not the shoe deal and partnership with Nike when he first entered into the league, nor was it the earnings from his signature shoe and Nike's endorsement deals that made him ultra wealthy. No, it actually did not occur until towards the end of his NBA career, when Nike and Michael Jordan decided to make a subsidiary brand of Nike, the Jordan brand, which was first introduced in 1997, going into the final season of MJ's tenure with the Chicago Bulls before winning his 6th championship. At the time, Michael was the highest paid NBA player by annual salary, making over $33 million in that season. He was still raking in money from endorsement deals as well that put his overall earnings to be an estimated $50+ million per in the late 90s. And while Jordan's career earnings totaled over $93 million, this would end up becoming peanuts for him relative to the deal that he struck with Nike and the Jordan brand. You see, rather than Jordan taking an annual salary or signing a long-term contract deal for the creation of the Jordan brand, MJ opted to take a 5% royalty cut of all Jordan brand earnings. At the time, it was thought to be a mistake on Jordan's part, for a brand that was uncertain to succeed could end up flopping in a year or two, when Jordan could have just taken a fat paycheck from Nike to use his likeness to create a sub-brand after his name. Going the 5% royalty route could have meant missing out on a lot of revenue coming his way. Fortunately for Michael Jordan, though, and for Nike, it paid off massively in what would ultimately turn Michael Jordan into a billionaire and the richest athlete in history. While the royalty amount started out low at the brand's inception in the late 90s, netting MJ just a few $1 million per year in royalties, that figure has jumped substantially. And just the last 5 years alone, the Jordan brand has doubled in revenue. This past year in 2023, Jordan brand revenue alone totaled $6.59 billion, giving MJ $330 million in royalty earnings in 2023. More than tripling his entire NBA career earnings in just 1 year of royalty income from the Jordan brand. According to Nike earnings data, Michael Jordan has made $1.9 billion from Jordan brand royalties alone since the brand was established. This, of course, does not include the overall earnings Michael Jordan has made from his Nike partnership since signing with them back in 1984. Nearly $2 billion in royalty income, all from one brand, from one decision to sign with a relatively small and obscure running shoe company, a company Jordan's agent had to plead with him to take after being disappointed that Adidas had turned the future Hall of Famer down. A decision that has changed the sneaker industry forever, and a decision that would keep Michael Jordan a household name for years to come. I'm sure Jordan would still have made money handsomely even if he didn't decide to sign with Nike. He was, after all, a global icon and revolutionized the game of basketball, but propelling him to billionaire status without the Nike partnership would have been very unlikely. And also paving the way for future athletes in their endorsement and partnership deals with the apparel brand juggernaut. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think would have happened had Jordan decided to pass on Nike? Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.